Gino, what are your non-spoiler reviews? Thoughts?
Okay, so as I love to compare stuff, I'm going to automatically just go straight to comparing it to its closest show in relation, Stranger Things. JK.
LOL.
People got very mad that I compared Game of Thrones to Stranger Things, but
I'm going to say, I don't think that's fair to do for the non-spoiler review.
Compare it to Game of Thrones? I'm going to compare it in this sense. So I'm just kidding. I'm comparing it to Game of Thrones. It took me like 5 years to get through the first episode of Game of Thrones. I'm not kidding. I watched it 3 separate times, got confused, and was like, nope, not doing this. Finally, it literally took me, I mean, spoilers for Game of Thrones, the original show. It took me until they seeing Bran get pushed out the window, and I was like, oh, this show's good. Like,
the end of season 1.
No, it was episode 1.
Oh, the end of episode 1.
It took me 5 years to get through episode 1, not season 1. Did I say season 1? No, episode 1.
You said episode 1.
So the reason why I think it was difficult for me to get through that first episode is because there's so many different characters in so many different parts of the world. And having just rewatched the first episode of Game of Thrones, they don't do like a great job of explaining like, hey, Daenerys is not in the same country as everybody else. And like all this other stuff. So it was like hard for me to keep track of. Now I know like everything about, I can like tell you everything.
He can. I am currently rewatching Game of Thrones, and he's usually my go-to. Like,
I'm like, then he cuts off his wiener.
Yeah.
And
How fun.
So compared to the original Game of Thrones, this is a much more narrow scope. You're really focusing on one family. It's mostly in King's Landing.
The House of the Dragon.
The House of the Dragon. You're focusing on the Targaryens. So in terms of keeping track of what's going on, it's a lot easier because there's less characters. There's less stuff going on. But with that said, at least for these first 2 episodes, I'm finding it more boring than original Game of Thrones. Again, is it fair to compare like all of Game of Thrones to the first 2 episodes of this show? Yes.
We're going to do it.
It is fair. I'm doing it. So I think, so far, it's fine. I'm going to keep watching it. It looks pretty. I think the CGI is great. The dragons look great. There's no point where I'm like, those are fake. Which like compared to She-Hulk and how bad she looks.
Oh my God.
Even Toby's coming around to how bad She-Hulk looks.
No, I'm
CGI.
not. I think she's fine.
So the dragons look great. I know it's because they're all the same family members, but and I know because they're all inbred, they all look the same, but the Targaryens all look too much the same. Just throw in a different colored hair Targaryen.
They can't.
I know. I get it. Just do it. Just change the rules. I get they're all inbred. I get they're all silver hair. Just make John's a black hair Targaryen. Just pretend like they exist and throw them in there.
Well, wait for it.
Okay, maybe. They all kind of look the same. Even like David, not David Tennant. That's the other one. Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Matt Smith, I guess you could forget it's Matt Smith.
No.
I don't know how to judge Matt Smith. But yeah, that's my non-spoiler review. Go ahead, Tobes.
Okay, thank you. So my non-spoiler review, it is pretty. I love the music. I'm going to repeat, rewatching Game of Thrones. And the music is probably one of the best characters because it's like in and you hear it. So that's exciting.
The music in this is great. You mentioned the bum bum bum.
Oh
bum
my
whenever they're
God!
walking.
Give me all the drums, please. So then something else that's like piggybacking off what Gino said. It's a lot easier to follow because again, it's only one family. There's 3 main characters right now, a 4th if you count.
Yeah, there's what's her face?
Gino's gonna do a really good job. Rhaenyra
Targaryen, who Toby just watched the episode, by the way. That tells you how she dies in original Game of Thrones.
So season 3.
Don't spoil it now.
I won't, but I'll tell you if you want to go to it. It's season 3, episode 4. Joffrey is talking to Marjorie about the history of the Targaryens. And just the first thing he says is, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh.
Joffrey doesn't strike me as a good student. So good for him.
No, I think he's
also inbred.
What he would enjoy, I think, is the murder and death. And that's what's going to stick with him.
Right. You can also buy that book. They sell, like, there is the Targaryen history book where just where this comes from. This is what the show is based on.
Or you could just Wikipedia it.
Well, of course. But George R. R. Martin, instead of writing Winds of Winter, wrote a Targaryen history book.
Good,
so that's
good,
what this
good.
is. Anyway, so the Rhaenyra Targaryen played by
I feel like
Millie Bobby Brown.
it's not Millie Bobby Brown. Her name is Millie Alcock.
Okay, she's fine.
She's good. I'm enjoying her. She's like tough. She's very compared Daenerys-like.
Blonde. Yeah, she's like blonde Arya plus Daenerys.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. Are we just going into spoilers? Like what's
No.
happening here?
We're just. How did you think the characters are doing? And I'm just letting the audience know their names.
Okay.
That's not spoilers.
No. And then like the other person we focus on is King
Not Rob.
Viserys. And if you remember, Viserys is actually somebody named that's Daenerys' brother. He gets
Yes.
melted. So this is King Viserys the First.
Cool.
And then we have Daemon Targaryen, who's Matt Smith, who is, I personally cannot stop thinking that it's Matt Smith because his voice is so unique. Like, if you didn't watch Doctor Who with Matt Smith, I guess it's not going to matter to you, but he's like the most doctor. Like, I can't help it.
Wait, is this the guy from Little Nicky?
I don't know. You've done this.
Okay, what's this actor's name? Is this him?
It's in there.
Right, is this him?
Yes.
He plays the Hand of the King?
Yeah.
That's him?
Yeah, why? Is
The
he
guy
in
from Little Nicky plays the Hand of the King.
Which part is he in Little Nicky?
He's the brother, the mean guy. That's not him.
The devil?
Yeah, no. Well, they're all the devil.
Aren't they?
Wait, you keep talking.
All right, Gino's gonna find the clip, I think.
Oh, I wasn't. There's a clip you were talking about?
No, I wasn't talking about Little Nicky at all.
Oh, okay, but like he's in Little Nicky.
Okay, it's very exciting for Gino. So the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, I think is his last name.
Yes. Who are the Hightowers in regular Game of Thrones?
Part of High Garden, I think.
Okay.
Tyrells. So like it's easier to pay attention to. It's good stuff. Gino, for better or worse right now?
For better. And yes, it is Adrian from Little Nicky plays the Hand of the King. He's like one of my favorite characters.
There you go.
Yeah. So
he's gross though.
No Lannister so far. Have they even mentioned? I don't know if the Lannisters are in power yet. They
mentioned Lannister. They mentioned Stark. I think we're getting into spoilers.
All right. So yeah, for me, like, it's better than the first episode of Game of Thrones. Like the first two episodes of this are better, higher budget, easier to follow, more entertaining than the first two episodes of Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So far, and we'll come back to this show, for better.
I also say for better. I want to go into spoilers.
Get yourself a big TV, guys. Get yourself a nice big TV and surround sound. A lot of surround sound.
I think my favorite
Dolby Vision.
So my favorite sound in both of the episodes so far. So unfortunately, this is coming out on a Wednesday.
Is this a sound you're talking about?
No.
Yes, it is.
What even was that?
The dragons. That's
but it is a dragon sound.
That's what I did.
You didn't though. It's a cute dragon.
You do the dragon sound.
No, it was that dragon sound where it's like the string in the back where
That's what I did.
No, you didn't. It was it's such a good sound.
Are we in spoilers right now?
Yes, we're in
spoilers. Blah, 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 blah.
Please, I literally said it. I can't talk about a show. It's not spoiler reviews are dumb.
We have to do it for the peeps.
I'm telling you right now, I think they're dumb. I'm not watching a review of something unless I've already seen it or I don't care about spoilers.
Skip to now for the non-spoilers review.
So
for the spoiler review. Whatever.
For the spoilers. So the sound is the dragons are really cool, but like I don't remember what you just.
I like that they look different than the dragons that Daenerys had. I mean, you were talking about the sounds they make, Toby. The sounds they make are nice. And I disrupted you. I interrupted.
Right, and then you talked about how they look different, and I'm gonna science you and say, well, genetic variation.
Boo, boo! I think I just clipped the mic. Boo.
So that's why they look different.
And at this point they have 10. I think they said 10 dragons, but we've only seen like two of them.
We've seen 2, maybe.
And the dragons aren't in it that much. I mean, again, it's only been 2 episodes.
They're in it.
They're in it a lot more than obviously Game of Thrones, where they didn't get big until like way later.
Right.
And like, obviously you can tell the budget for this is much higher than the early seasons of Game of Thrones.
I mean, like, I can't, but since everybody keeps saying it is and showing pictures
More
of
than
it.
just me?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's definitely more than just you. Like, people compared the joust in season 1 and of Game of Thrones and then with this, and they're like, wow, Robert Baratheon really was broke. Like, here, I'll pull the picture up for you.
But like, to me, the scene that sticks out in my head the most that feels like this is the scene where Ned Stark gets stabbed in the back of the leg. To me, that looks like a high budget like CW show, like Xena Warrior Princess kind of budget, or like Hercules, the Hercules show from the Channel 11 back in the day, or like Star Trek.
I disagree.
Whereas, and then later on, Game of Thrones got bigger and bigger and higher budget. This show starts off, boom, high budget. Like HBO, Warner Brothers, whoever freaking Discovery Channel, whoever owns that app right now, is just throwing all of their money at this. So it looks impressive.
Yes, I disagree. I can't really tell, I guess. Like, honestly, I needed people to tell me the budget's higher. But like, it ends up being obvious because in season 1, where you have the joust, it's like literally a little set. And you have just like the stands and then the people running.
Yeah.
And in this one, they CGI'd a stadium.
Which, like, that, I guess, okay, first of all, I should probably go back and rewatch more of season 1 because HBO recently updated it to 4K. It was originally, remember back when Battle of the Bastards came out and everyone complained that it was HBO Go at the time. You couldn't see anything. It was too dark and pixely.
Dark. I do remember that.
So, again, getting a little technical here. Cablevision is on Optimum and Fios or whatever. When you watch something on cable, it's 1080i, which is like 2002 technology. It looks terrible. So if you watch that episode on your cable box, it looked like crap. If you watch the HBO Go stream, it looked like slightly better crap, 1080p. Up until I think like 2 weeks ago, you could only watch Game of Thrones at 1080p. Now they updated to 4K, Dolby Vision. We were just watching season 3, episode what? Like 4, 3?
5, 6?
It was the conversation between Sansa and the guy she was going to marry, one of the Tyrells. And this conversation between the old Tyrell and the Lannister dad, where I was like, wow, like this show looks impressive. Now that I'm seeing it in 4K on a 4K screen, it wasn't even my good TV. It was our like backup bedroom TV. It does look great. So maybe the long way of saying, maybe I should go back and watch season 1 of Game of Thrones now that I can see it in, 4K, great quality, before calling it like a freaking CW.
It doesn't
low budget show.
Yeah, I watched Charmed for many years. Like, this is not Charmed.
Right.
So, like, I know what low budget CW looks like. And they had CGI in there.
Sure. And I guess, again, now we're seeing whatever cameras they're using at their full quality, yada, yada, yada. With that said, if you're not a fan of CGI, you're not going to like this show because there are sets that I think were real sets in the original show. Like the
bridge he's talking about.
If you in Dragonstone, where Daenerys had her, where she was in the later seasons.
Man, we're doing a good job.
We're great. I'm almost certain that when the show and Robert's brother was there, Robert Baratheon's brother was there in the beginning season. Stannis was there. That was a real place, a real castle, a real place with a real bridge where they would film. For this show on season 2, where you see it, it's CGI.
On episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah,
it's
but
CGI. And then we figured out why it's CGI.
Because the dragons have to
Because the dragons show up. So it's like, all right, I guess it's easier to do the dragons if the entire background is fake than to like stick them onto a real background. So if you're not a fan of, like even the joust is all CGI in the background.
Right.
So if you're not a fan of CGI, then you're not going to like this as much as the earlier seasons of Game of Thrones. But with that said, I only noticed the CGI for that bridge, and only because the bridge, I've already seen it in real life. I didn't know the joust was CGI. I didn't even.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to you.
So it's good CGI.
Yeah, it's good. So I mean the sets are really good. It's just So my biggest thing, and then maybe we'll get to the characters. But I'm gonna start comparing. Sorry, everybody, but like that's what happens. I like, now this might be my second rewatch, but I like all of the characters in Game of Thrones. I like that we go to different places. I like that the settings are different. I like that I'm in the desert. I'm beyond the wall. I'm in the north. I'm in the south. Like
You're in Europe or whatever, Essos.
right. Not yet. We haven't hit Essos yet. So, but like exactly. But I don't think we're going there. Like I don't see
in the original Game of
depth.
Thrones, you see Essos.
We're not there yet.
What are you talking about? The first episode they show Essos.
When?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
See?
but she's not there anymore.
She's still in Essos. She's there in Essos.
That's the whole. That's Westeros. Essos.
Yeah, Essos is Westeros is the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
and then Essos is Europe.
Right. So we're still there. We're still there.
So
I like that.
But in this show,
all you get is Westeros and like.
Well, not even that.
And like
you get King's Landing and Dragonstone. That's it.
In the opening, they don't tell you where you're gonna be. They tell you who you're gonna see. So the blood goes to different people, not different places. So you know how.
Okay. So you're talking about the intro.
Yeah, the intro.
Okay, so the nice thing about the original Game of Thrones intro is that it showed you on a map, like where all the stuff was happening that was important, and where you're gonna go in the episode. This one, obviously, they can't do that because they're only in like two places, mostly one. So I didn't notice that it shows.
I didn't notice. Somebody said it.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been reading a lot.
Also, I do appreciate. I know this is gonna sound dumb, but I do appreciate that they're just using the Game of Thrones theme.
Oh, me too.
I imagine that was a big debate where they're like, "We need a new theme song," and they're like, "No,
no, you guys made the right choice."
The Game of Thrones theme song is it's just unfairly good.
It's true. It was with us for years, and it just plays in the background rent free in some people's heads.
I do it all the
He does.
And the South Park version with wieners in it.
Right, that's the one I hear the most.
Yes.
How lucky for me.
No wieners in this so far.
None, and barely any.
Which is like a shame.
Yeah, I mean, like I guess I'm okay with it. So one of the complaints that I heard, and this is another comparison, is that there was unnecessary bloodshed in the first episode. And I agree with them. So like
what are they referring
to? In the joust, right? Where they're just murdering different people from different houses.
I'd have to ask a history person, like a history teacher.
Right, but like that's
were real jousts like that?
Right. So like probably not, because imagine if one house is just like murdering another house, I'm gonna
guess it probably was because England was crazy.
I don't think it was that serious.
Because I know that George R.R. Martin, like all the really horrible, horrible stuff that happens in Game of Thrones, people will be like, "How do you think of this stuff?" He's like, "I didn't. It actually happened." Do
you think
here
Bolton
at this time
really did that stuff to like there were people that tortured?
I guarantee it. Well, yeah, of course.
Sorry, I'm on season 3 and I just met Ramsay Bolton, and he's torturing Theon, and it's
there's a lot of interviews with George R.R. Martin where he's like, "I did not come up with a lot of this." Like the Red Wedding, he stole from like some actual thing that happened in the War of the Roses in England.
Oh my god!
Where they murdered a bunch of people at a wedding. Yeah, like
that's coming up.
All of Game of Thrones. I don't know if any of you guys else knew this. Pretty much all of Game of Thrones is based on English history that actually happened, obviously with dragons and whatever.
And White Walkers.
That's why Westeros
really
is the United Kingdom. It's the same shape as the United Kingdom.
Yeah, but there were real White Walkers.
In real life, those were Scottish people, not White Walkers. Yeah. So like even like the wall is based on
the Wall of
Hadrian's Wall, and it's the
there was a wall in Ireland, no?
There's a wall it's the wall that separates England from Scotland.
We are so.
It's also this tall though, so like
it's a baby wall.
You could just hop over it.
So we just literally watched the wildlings climb up the wall very dangerously. So I guess
in real life you would just go, boop. Yeah. So So the White Walkers in real life are Scottish people. And
is this based on information, or are you making a joke?
Well, the wildlings, I guess, would be like, imagine if a real giant wall was up in England.
I guess so. And
then the Scottish people would be the wildlings.
Yeah.
So Westeros is England. Essos is Europe.
Okay, right.
There's like an Asia Os apparently, and there's like an Africa Os, and there might be an America Os.
But we don't see them.
And they have better names than that. It's like Sathoros, I think, is Africa.
You don't have to.
There are all these history books he wrote instead of
the next book,
which neither of us have read. High five. We suck. I tried to read the first book in college and I failed.
Listen, everybody. I started rereading Harry Potter for the third time and I stopped in the second book. So I don't even think you can count that as starting to reread it.
Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Oh, right.
I don't think it was excessive if that is what happened at real jousts.
I'm so sorry. You just said back to what you were saying.
About the blood.
And then continue.
So now go. Now I
Okay.
said it.
So
I'm good at podcasts.
Right. So good. So, I mean, so like just to, but the people said like we just needed to get murder in there because it's Game of Thrones. People need to know what they're dealing with. I'm like, I don't need that. I need death for a reason. I mean, not that I dislike all the blood and gore.
I remember in Game of Thrones, didn't the Mountain almost kill the guy and then the Hound stopped him?
Right,
and
but
then he
then-
killed his horse?
Yeah, but the only real fight happened between two brothers that were. I'm like literally taking this from somebody I was listening to, and I can't remember who.
Well, tell that person to shut the...
No.
Shut the F up. They're
it's
wrong.
true. I mean, like, I would agree. Really don't remember who I was listening to.
I do not think it's excessive violence compared to what the original Game of Thrones was.
Not excessive, but like violence for violence sake, as opposed to like a battle or you treasonous person, I'm going to behead you.
Someone in history look up how actual jousts were.
Yes, and then tell us.
Tell us. I bet you actual jousts,
Do it for us.
they would start killing each other. Considering that, like,
Yeah, but
if
then
someone
you
gets
say
hit by a baseball-
yield.
someone gets hit by a baseball and, like, all the benches clear and they start fighting each other.
Yeah, but I
Go
yield.
back 1,000 years
They say I yield.
and then you kill them.
No.
Or what if they don't yield and you have to kill them?
Then you have to kill them. Yeah.
Just
Then
like
you
real
have-
life in
Just
baseball.
like real life. If nobody yields, you have
Kill
to
'em.
kill them.
So I don't agree with that person.
Okay. I remember the podcast now. It was
You don't remember the podcast.
I listened to them for 90-day recaps.
Oh,
No, it's not reality.
Reality Gaze?
It's
No?
not. It wasn't them. They weren't talking about this.
Oh, okay.
It was the other one I listened to that you don't listen to.
So they're off topic, not talking about 90 days.
It was their Patreon that they put on their
Oh.
regular feed.
Are you supporting other podcasts
I do.
and not our own?
I only pay Patreon for one other podcast.
Oh my God.
But no other podcast
How big do you have
exists
to get for
except
Patreon?
ours.
We gotta figure that out. Let us know if you want to pay us.
Yeah,
and
let
do
us know if you
Patreon.
want like extra things because we'll do extra things if for subscribers.
Do whatever you want.
Whatever you want is what I meant to say.
So now, so do you have anything else to talk about until before you talk about the characters?
Yeah. Other comparisons. So right. So there's only a few. And it's like I guess slow. Like Game of Thrones was slow in the beginning, and you were saying this is slow because the politics are slowly forming. Right. We're starting to get. I guess we can dive into the character after. Just like we're starting to get some backstabbing. We're starting to get some poor decision
Some like
making.
politics of it. I would say the advantage that Game of Thrones had, at least in the earlier seasons, is that once you were bored with something, they would go switch to something else. So like, oh, I'm
It's-
kind of bored
right.
with Daenerys now, but I'm only going to be here for 10 minutes. I'm going to switch back over to Tyrion and what he's doing. And, now I'm bored with Tyrion, so I'm going to switch over to Jon Snow, what he's doing with the wildlings. So that was the advantage the original show had, is like
The several storylines just bopping back
popping
and
around.
forth.
Whereas this, it's like, we're just in the time, the
Right. And like, yeah, like who
the
are we
Targaryens.
seeing?
Just these like 4 or 5 Targaryens.
Like, oh, we're at Rhaenyra. Now we're at Viserys.
And now we're Viserys
we're-
again, but now he's yelling at his brother. And
Yeah, like it's more linear.
everyone
I
has
feel.
white hair and ponytails, like
Right,
literally
it's
all
tough.
of them.
And like you don't know anybody that's part of his table. I don't know his counsel.
That's what they could have done.
What?
Give some of them short hair. Like not all of them need white hair and ponytails.
I think Viserys has short hair.
No, he's long hair.
No.
Yes. Every Targaryen we've seen in the show
Yeah.
has long hair. Give some of them a haircut.
Give him curly hair. Where's the curly hair?
Anything, just to make them
Targaryen?
look kind of different. They all have long white
They
hair.
all look like elves. It's really tough to.
Yeah. Well, they're the most
differentiate.
magic that the show has, probably.
I guess so, but like they look elfish. Elvish with a V.
Elvish. That's why I think the Hand of the King and his daughter are such interesting characters, because they look different.
Oh,
They
maybe.
have brown hair and red hair.
Yeah,
and
they're-
short hair.
and they're plotting to put their names in with the king.
But they're like nice plotting. They're not like evil yet, like the Lannisters were.
I guess.
He's like, oh, the king's wife died. Go like be his friend.
young 15-year-old
Ah,
daughter.
whatever. He's gonna marry like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, it's true. The choices were bleak
Again, man,
for
England.
him.
It's all based on England. England.
Well, and then so I'm rewatching Game of Thrones. And like, there's a lot of just saying, you marry this person, you marry this person.
I mean, that also happened in real life.
Yes,
That I
happened
do
in real
remember
life.
from AP Euro.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he seems like a decent hand. Like, he's just trying to get his daughter in there. And his daughter's nice, and they seem to have good, I don't know, chemistry.
So far, nothing evil has happened yet. So, like, but I guess at that point in Game of Thrones, nothing like evil had happened yet.
No.
There's no like Tywin Lannister or Joffrey. There's no like bad guy yet.
I'm like trying to think.
Or like people you like love to hate. There's also no one really.
Oh my God, Jamie pushes Bran out of a window.
Lannister. Right.
Yeah.
So like there's none of that kind of stuff in the new show.
In the new show, no.
Like there's no one you hate yet.
No.
Everyone's just kind of like whatever. Like they all seem to be getting along so far.
Right. So we need to start. And I like Rhaenyra. I think she's great. I think when she flew in with her dragon against her dad's wishes to go get her egg back from Daemon was really cool. I didn't see it coming either.
Sorry, one more difference between this show and the original Game of Thrones. There's a lot of time skips. Like each episode is a time skip. So the first episode and the second episode is like 6 months, I think. And now it's looking to the previews of the third episode. It's like a year.
A year. And we're going to get
a lot of time skips the original show didn't do.
We're going to get more because I've been seeing them saying they're recasting people, and it's because there's an even bigger time skip, so people age. So like the kids are going to age. Like Rhaenyra and the queen
are going to age. I think I've already seen older Rhaenyra in a preview.
Right. So that's the big recast.
Yeah.
Time.
So it's not like a continuous story where you see things happen in real time. It's just kind of going to the interesting parts, I guess, of Rhaenyra.
And I was thinking this. So
it's life.
So Game of Thrones was obviously a story at a turning point, right? Like Robert Baratheon's death, we bring in Joffrey. Now we have this fight for the Iron Throne. And I was like, what's the big catalyst? Like, what's the
thing that's going to, nothing's happened yet.
Right. Like the thing hasn't happened yet. And I guess the thing didn't really happen yet. Like
John Arryn dying was the thing.
John Arryn dying was the thing that the domino that pushed everybody, all the other dominoes over. So like, right, is the thing now the death of that baby, of his heir, right? The son. Yeah. So now he makes this choice. I'm going to marry this girl, have more babies.
Who knows?
And that's what we have to see. Like that was a good, John Arryn dying was so subtle, but the
and there's also the mystery of why did he die, who killed him.
Right, and that was season 1.
Yeah, season 1 is great of Game of Thrones. And like I think if you're a fan of Tyrion in politics, then seasons like 3 through 5, or 2 through 5. 2 through 5 or whatever. There's not enough politics for me yet.
Yeah, it's only been 2 episodes. You guys third episode's going to come out by the time this airs, so like maybe more will have happened. But like that's
maybe we'll add our this is what we thought towards the end. When do the episodes come out?
Sundays.
Oh, we can definitely add.
What are you, brand new?
All right. Anyway, go ahead. Maybe go ahead. Do the whatever else you're gonna talk about.
Well, now characters. Anything else that you would?
Yeah, no, there's not much to speak of, because we don't really know them that well, and they're kind of like.
Well, how do you think this king compares to other kings that we've known?
He's not as fun as Rob. Rob was like a fun, gross king. So like he's not as likable as Rob.
Also, who's calling? No one calls him Robert.
King Robert, whatever.
Bobby.
So and it just seems like he's kind of like a weak, whatever kind of dude.
He does seem.
I'm assuming he's gonna get killed at some point. I guess I could just look it up on the internet, but.
I know. Like, that's the thing. Like, the stakes are low.
Yeah.
But if we don't know what happens, then the stakes are still high.
Yeah.
But he does seem weak.
Yeah.
And, like, sad. I guess his wife did just die.
His wife
And then he had to choose. That's tough. Had to choose between his wife surviving and his kid.
If you're pregnant, don't watch that episode 1 of that wife straight up cutting her. Like, that, to me, is gratuitous. Just cutting the baby, doing the C-section right there and on camera.
Do you know what I heard? They asked women specifically if it was too bloody, and the women said, no, you need more blood. So That's fun.
Have fun with that, women. Yay.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is they're trying to make David Tennant,
No.
Matt Smith. They're trying to make Matt Smith's character like to be this cool, charismatic guy, and he's just like not yet. Like they're not showing him really doing anything cool.
They're showing that he has a soft side.
He also
Right.
murdered all of the criminals in King's Landing.
He did murder all of it.
Which I guess is cool.
So a tough side.
Yeah.
So he's both, but he like loves Rhaenyra. He loves his cousin.
There's like no one I've
Niece?
latched onto yet.
Niece.
Like I haven't latched on to anybody yet.
That's fair, but it's early on. Like, did you it took you 5 years to latch on to just get episode 1, so I can't imagine there's a
Right,
character
I
you
guess.
got
But there's like
behind.
even Tyrion is fun and like Jon Snow. And
Ugh, Tyrion is so good.
it's like so mopey Jon Snow.
Just so
And like the
good.
pushing out the window. There's nothing like I haven't latched on yet. It's like I'm watching because like I think eventually it'll get good.
I also think eventually it will get good. So
Should we pause here, watch episode 3, and then come back tomorrow?
No.
Okay, we're back. We watched episode 3. TV
Yeah.
magic.
Woo!
We did it.
We are back and relatively more comfortable than we were
Yes.
in the last video.
So I am more comfortable saying that I don't think I like this show that much. Is that fair?
I think that's fair.
After watching episode 3.
Now, why is that? How did you feel about episode 3?
Okay, so again, comparing it to the beginnings of Game of Thrones,
What?
comparing it to the beginning of Game of Thrones, a thing that I love to do.
Yeah.
There's no characters to latch onto that are like fun to love, like the Starks, like Ned Stark and the rest of the Starks. And there's no character to latch onto that's fun to hate, like the Lannisters. Like you pretty much immediately dislike the Lannisters.
Jamie literally, episode 1, pushes a boy out of a window.
Like you almost, and like they're.
And like Cersei's not nice when you meet her.
Cersei's a B word. That you can tell they're scheming. Like Littlefinger sucks.
Right. I think what this is missing is characters, which is probably which is people's like literal hatred of Game of Thrones that there's too many people. But in this, there's not enough.
Yeah, and like they're all kind of boring. Like there's no one fun.
It's like I think I was talking
or
about
evil.
this. Right. Like, I think I was talking about this either with you or in the video earlier. Who knows?
Who knows? Go back and look.
But that there was like a huge turning point in Game of Thrones, right? Jon Arryn died. We have a mystery. Now we have to get a new hand. Oh no, the king's dead. We got to get a new king. Like, this was all season 1, right? And I mean, like, granted, season 1 was 10 episodes.
You got to really do like the first 3 episodes.
Right. So we're only in the first 3.
of
but
Game of Thrones.
There was so much to discuss between like the council and the other lords that this is missing that. Like, we did get small council meetings, but none of them
Boring small council
Right,
meetings
like,
because all the
none of-
characters are boring.
right? Like Varys and Littlefinger are just so interesting.
Yeah, think about the
And,
old
like,
small council. You had Varys.
Yeah.
Scheming. He's interesting. He's witty. He's funny.
Right.
Littlefinger. You hate him. You love
Right.
to hate him. He sucks.
Maester Pycelle, who you also hate.
Hey, I mean, like, I don't know if you hate him until later on. I don't know how. When does he
I
start?
mean,
sucking
not
in
the
movie?
first 3 episodes, but he's like not a good
King
person.
Rob, boisterous, funny. Ned,
Right.
like you love him because he's probably the most boring character.
Because he's a good person.
But even still, he like has good lines and says good things and like
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything like so far revelatory about anything that's been said.
I think also what hurts this show so far is the time jumps. I know that's like the what they're going for.
Literally, the directors were like, "Bear with us, audience."
We had to like do the there's like if you watch the end of the 3rd episode, they have like the interviews with the showrunners. And they're like, we have to leave these clues so the audience knows that it's like a time skip. And they're like, the baby is 2 years old now.
Right? Like, we don't want that though. Like, we want
Yeah.
that progress. Like, granted, there were time jumps in Game of Thrones, but they were not years.
Yeah, this feels like what that 3rd episode kind of felt like, at least the beginning of it. It felt like in episode 2 of the prequels, which I will always bring up all the time, where instead of showing Anakin and Obi-Wan like becoming friends, they're just like, yeah, we were friends, remember?
Oh.
And so the thing that they wanted to show in this episode is that now Rhaenyra is resentful because she thinks that she's going to not be the heir anymore. So she goes from like her friend got married to her dad, right?
Right. And she was in a really good place in episode 2 until that happened.
And then now it's instantly 2 years later, and now she has a brother and is like a huge B word about it.
Right.
So you don't get to see her like slowly become resentful. She goes from like regular to like immediately resentful, which I know for them is 2 years, but for me as the audience member, she doesn't even look different.
No, she looked the same. It was also tough because like
Millie's breaking stuff.
In it, like it's unclear whether or not she's actually been renounced as the heir to the throne, and then later on you find out she's not.
Yes, yeah.
But she was grumpy immediately.
Right.
So I had assumed.
She's like, talk to your dad. It's been 2 years, man.
Right,
What you talking about in the last 2 years?
What's happening? And then this war has been going on for 2 years. How?
Right,
How?
and like-
they're in the caves? Go into the cave. Breathe fire into the caves and don't be
Like,
behind the fire.
It took you 3 years to figure out, like, get them out of the caves. Like, don't have the dragons and then have the dragons when they're out of the cave.
Or like burn the caves.
Or leave them? Like, what?
Right, like I'm really
Like, they don't tell us. I know that the bad guy, I guess he's not even really the bad guy, the crab man.
crab eater.
He's like beating up, he's like, you know, destroying ships and killing sailors.
Right.
So, like,
It doesn't even
if
seem
he's
like,
hiding in a cave, leave him.
like let him be in the cave.
Just go with, okay, now your army's just going to protect the ships. Like, we don't know the guy's motives. We don't know his name. We don't really know where he's from or why he's doing any of this. He's just like a plot device. He's just like some sort of evil
Right.
guy
And now
for Damon to kill.
maybe that's his only purpose. Right?
I guess, but
to
like,
move the story along. Some people, their only purpose is to move the story along, to like eventually get help from, to go against his brother, to get help from his brother, to be mad about it, to show us that he's a good.
Yeah, but
I
like,
understand.
who am I supposed to dislike in this show? And who am I supposed to like?
I don't know.
Everyone's just kind of, even like the Hand of the King, Adrian
Otto?
from Little Nicky.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he's supposed to be like a Tywin Lannister type, but he's like too nice
Well, nobody is scheming for murder.
or power or
Right. Like Otto, the Hand of the King was scheming for power a little bit when he was like, go ahead, 15-year-old daughter, like go make nice with the
but
king.
that's mild compared. Like,
But that's what I'm
Tywin would be like, "You're marrying the king, damn it!
That's right.
Yeah.
Tywin, we're literally watching season 4.
Shut your mouth!
where
You're my daughter."
Tywin makes Cersei go marry Loras, and I'm pretty sure she gets Loras killed. I'm unsure. Before they're
Spoilers.
married? Please.
I'm sure she
If
did.
you haven't seen season 4 of Game of Thrones, I don't know what to tell you.
So like, there's no one here for me to love or to hate. It's just kind of blah.
Yes. Like, for instance, I fell asleep before the battle last night.
The battle was kind of cool, yeah.
And it was like kind of cool, but you know what? They played at 9 o'clock. People are tired. And honestly, right before the battle, they're playing sleepy music. They're playing like calm music because
when
when Damon is fake retreat or what's it called? Giving up. What's that called? White flag.
Yep.
Whatever.
French.
So it's tough. It's like tough to get through. And the battle was even dumb too, because no offense.
Damon
that
should
was-
have died.
That was Battle of the Bastards, but they knew the help was coming. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I guess.
And like in Battle of the Bastards, again, the
Wait, you watched Battle of the Bastards without me?
No, I haven't gotten there
So then
yet.
you don't.
But I remember because now bear with me, people not watching. When the army comes, they like move in a circle, right? Because they're all like Jon Snow's in the middle, just like Daemon was in the middle. And instead of fire, like in House of the Dragon, it was people coming around. So it was very reminiscent of Battle of the Bastards, but
I
with
didn't get
fire. You didn't get that.
I disagree.
You're wrong.
Okay. You're wrong. Yeah, it just seemed like he had a lot of plot armor, which like Game of Thrones, like I don't want to see plot armor.
Well, and then
He's just like running in a beach,
the
getting shot
showrunner
at with arrows.
even said that. He was like, well, we don't want to make it too easy.
Right. So
Okay.
like then show Damon. What I liked about Game of Thrones is that like characters who didn't die, the reason they didn't die is because they didn't really put themselves in situations where they were like definitely going to die. So like just do that with Damon. Like I was saying, like if you guys watch the scene, he's like running on the beach, they're shooting arrows at him. How about show him like, okay, he hides behind a boat, they shoot the arrows, then he goes. and then he hides behind the boat.
I mean, he does get hit.
Yeah, like after dodging a million
Lots of
arrows, he
Go
should have
ahead,
been
Matt Smith.
dead.
He
So like,
made
I
it.
don't like that kind of stuff in my Game of Thrones. That's more of like a Lord of the Rings kind of thing.
Well, and it's also tough. We were talking about this. There's no stakes. Like, we know Damon lives.
Yeah.
So, like, it's tougher because, like, I'm literally watching Game of Thrones, and as a spoiler, I know who lives, but I also have forgotten who dies. So, like, when somebody dies, everyone,
who's
right?
not Jon Snow and Daenerys.
So, like, whoops, like, it's like I just watched The Red Wedding, like, by all the Starks. So it's definitely slower, and the less characters I also feel hurts it.
Yeah, and like the less interesting characters, like Damon, I know they're trying to make him like the cool one, but like, I'm sorry, Doctor Who fans, I don't think Matt Smith is very charismatic in this show or ever.
If you guys could see my face right now.
I never watched Doctor Who.
Watch on
Matt Smith
pod.
seasons. But.
And I have the opposite problem where I only see Doctor Who. I only see him as the Doctor. So when he was saying, "Crab Eater, come out," I just heard the Doctor like fighting with somebody that was trying to take over a planet. Like, that was tough.
On a dragon.
On a dragon. He could be on a
Doctor
dragon.
get a dragon? Yeah, so there's just, for me, the characters are just kind of blah. There's no one to love. There's no one to hate. There's no interesting, witty characters. There's no Tyrion. There's no Ned Stark. There's no Varys.
Right,
There's
the
no evil
dialogue is
people.
the problem is the dialogue is only mad or boring. Like,
or like expository.
We only get Viserys yelling at Rhaenyra. We don't get. I guess
That's one of the better scenes.
Right, but I guess the closest to like buddy is Rhaenyra and Crispos. No,
Yeah, but not really. They like
It's not
talk.
Chris-
They talk boring for 5 seconds, and she gets attacked by a boar.
Yeah, like somebody's got to be the peppy one in there making jokes.
There's just like no interesting characters.
Even the Lannister was like, wow.
He's probably the most interesting one. I like seeing a Lannister not being evil.
Gino just saw him in a red coat and was like,
I was like, no, I saw the line. I was like, it's a Lannister.
Oh, you saw the
finally.
line?
Also,
I couldn't see the line.
I want to see more Starks. They never show any Starks.
They showed one Stark in the first episode.
Yeah, show more. I guess they didn't come down for the hunt. They're like,
pretty
we're not
far.
making the trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure you could tell. Like after watching the third episode, we're a lot more negative. I was willing to give it more of a shot after 2 episodes, but now after 3, I'm starting to see patterns here. We're probably going to still watch the rest of the season. We'll review it, but I'm starting to think this is not going to be like that great. It's still very pretty. Sound is great. Music's great. It looks good, but it's just bleh.
Right. Like, if the story takes until season 2 to pick up, I don't know if people are going to stick with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have no choice. We have podcasts.
We do have a podcast. If you guys are listening to our podcast, this is it.
Can you do the ending of the podcast by heart?
By heart, no. Well,
Like and subscribe.
That's it. Thank you for listening to For Better or Worse. If you like what you heard and want to know more, visit our website at www.buzzsprout.com. www.forbetterorworse.buzzsprout.com. Follow us on Instagram, FBOW Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. We're there too. That's where I do all my tweeting for like TV shows and stuff.
Really Toby doing
Gino does not tweet at all. So it's just me. And just share, tell everybody. We're trying to grow here. We want to grow for you.
I want to grow for you.
Want to grow for you, do more things, have the opportunity to like watch more shows for a reason. This is a lovely hobby, but we want to go somewhere with this, and we need your help, and thank you for listening when you do. All right, well, that's it.
Bye.
Bye.